Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Puzzle Chambers. So we're in the second flashback being told by this guy. The puzzles are getting more complicated as it goes. We've been introduced to what looks like a Demon King in the flashback running the show of this entire facility, for lack of a better term. And it definitely feels like there might be some puzzleness here around the general concept of who you're going to believe as far as who's telling a story and who isn't. What I'm wondering here is how many of these blank spaces can I live with, and how many of these can I avoid changing? Because if I just do that, and that doesn't change anything, and that's fine. Or I could even do that, but that does change something. But wherever I put one of these is going to bounce things much higher. And there's kind of no getting around it at all. There is obviously another option here, which we could try to increase a significant amount of numbers. But even at that, that's way too high doing that. So that doesn't really make sense. That can work, and then that would just leave a 3x3 grid. I sometimes watch some much smarter YouTubers called, one of the channels is called Cracking the Cryptic, who solves variations on Sudoku puzzles, and he knows a lot of rules and mathematical tricks to solving certain kinds of puzzles. Unfortunately, I don't know any of those rules, so if there was some amazing trick here where I could push some extra bit of knowledge into my head from having a 3x3 grid instead of having a 4x3 grid. I would appreciate if that were the case, but yeah, it's not going to be the case. Okay. Weirdly, this almost works. We have 2 here. We have 2 here. So if this didn't bring that to being a 2, well, wait, that doesn't matter if it brings it to being a 2. It's more an issue if this doesn't bring it to being a 4, would be the problem. There we go. We still don't really know at all what this means or what is determining whether we go up or down or right. We've never gone left. The puzzles are getting more complicated with blue colors and black colors and orange colors, and with extra pieces. We should be close to the end of the flashback. So we've seen now 2 flashbacks, and the question becomes, did this lady lie in some way in her flashback? Seems kind of obvious this guy lied at least a little bit in his flashback. I wouldn't be surprised if all the characters are going to lie, and maybe none of the characters are trustworthy, or some of the characters are trustworthy. The main protagonist that we're supposedly playing as definitely comes off as not being that trustworthy either, but maybe that just means the rest of these people are untrustworthy. Who knows? It comes and it goes, certainly with the story. You can either focus on the story, but then you have to focus on the puzzles, and so the puzzles could be intentionally acting as a distractor to keep you from thinking everything through. But Yeah. Then once you're done with the puzzles, you get more story, and then you're focusing on the story and not focusing on the puzzles. So there's one thing I don't understand. It says, why did you let them take you away in the first place? To kick their butts. But you ran away when you got there. I did not run away. I just left. After kicking their butts. What don't you understand, Four Eyes? Why didn't you stay and force them to release you from this place? After you'd already kicked their butts. I did kick their butts. But there was a huge monster in front of me. Who was just waiting for a chance to get its claws on me. And that's another thing. You're telling us there was a huge monster in the room? Yes, terrifying, as big as the room. How did it get into the room? What? If it's that huge, how did it get into the room? Question mark. Through a small door? I don't know. Maybe it has a different way of entering. Maybe the ceiling opens up or something. So if what he said is true, that is an interesting question certainly to ask. Nah, I don't buy it. What don't you buy? Any of it. Really? Anyone else? Meh. Look, Seth. You make these white mask things sound like they're imbeciles. But I've seen them. And they ain't no comedy show. I've told you how it was. If you can't handle it, that's your problem. We've wasted an awful lot of time on this story. Let's keep moving. Okay. And so with the flashback being finished, although I still have the fuzzy animation irritating me, so it makes me feel like we're still in a flashback, we have something new in the center here that we'll have to deal with. These puzzle games make me so thirsty. If I put this here, I can't place it there. So, let's start with a small number and see what happens. 2 gets pointed to and becomes blue. Alright. I think I see what's going to happen here. So then once it's blue, it can be a 5. Whereas, if I did it this way, it would be orange, and then it wouldn't add up. So now we have color changing properties on top of value changing properties. Interesting. Which probably means that I also need to modify something more. Yeah. If anything, that was really simple. And in this puzzle room, there's only one door, so there's seemingly no trick there. Why do you guys think some of us have additional abilities? Besides telekinesis, and some don't. Maybe they just haven't discovered them yet. I didn't figure out I could make illusions until I'd been here a few days. Maybe I'll get to walk through walls or something. Okay. So, yeah, overall, it still does kind of come off like the biggest number is the one you should target first. Let's see. I think that's right. Yep. If we can burn through these puzzles, we should just do it. So we've got a 3rd achievement out of 10, which really indicates that there is quite a lot of puzzles here. Here we are. Everybody, remember the plan. Yeah. For God's sake, Sarah. Exclamation point. Just give them regular small guns. No, these look more dangerous. But nobody will buy this. How'd they get those huge cannons in here? Fine. Well, now they've seen you change the guns. No, they didn't. Well, we'll see who's lying now. Come here. Waz Waz. So these guys are running away from him. Waza, 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 waza. Oh well, the last ones I fought. Oh well, the ones I fought last time didn't have swords. This is a bit risky. Sure, buddy. No! Why me? Help! Why you? Let him go. Ah! No. Stop. Are you okay? I'll live. Bastards had a sword on them this time. What happened with the illusions? They just ignored them. That's because you changed their guns in front of them. You were the one who complained about the guns, and it's not like you did anything. I'm not really much of a physical guy, which is funny because he lied and said he was a bodybuilder at the beginning. Oh, is that so? Alright, alright. This is bad. A real bad situation. But there's no reason to ruin the nice vibe we had. Just shut it. Another message. And a gun under it. There's one bullet in this gun. And there's one intruder among you. Yep, I figured we were going to eventually have some paranoia introduced into the group dynamic. Use it to eliminate it. Or you'll all be beheaded in the next break room. Stay sharp. Your host. I'll take the gun. No, you won't. You might be a cop, but I don't. Just give it to Sarah for now. Whatever. But what did I tell you? Didn't I warn you about the white mask things? Was there something goofy about them? Did they seem like imbeciles to you? Present time 22 rooms apart. Oh, so they're now speaking in English. Oh, Robert. Robert. What? It's ringing. I know it's ringing, you imbecile. It is time. Time it is. Ouch. Don't be weird about it, Terry. Just start solving them. Sorry. By the way, do you think the underworld god will bless me with another ability? That's not something for you to ask for. It's something you receive, if you're worthy. So we're straight up just gonna solve puzzles as the bad guys. And it seems to me like this is in line with some of those anime shows where half of the original good guys become the bad guys and put on masks, and it seems like they are drastically different from the people you're following, the protagonist of the story, but in reality it is just other people who either have been a little bit further in the experience and the journey dealing with all of the weirdness going on around. There's quite a few enemies like that. Alice in Borderland, spoiler somewhat for that, is somewhat like that. We've got a lot of negatives here and a bunch of nines, which would make me suspect that the move here is to get the numbers down quite a lot, although I'm not sure if we can get them down enough. Yeah, that will get to a 2. That'll get to a 2. But that gets to a 6. That gets to a 2. That gets to a 6. That's just straight up a 9. Sevens and sevens probably shouldn't be played early. 6. It's too low. 9 is way too high. 6 works there, but 2 is too low. That would get to a blank. Then that gets you to a 4. I almost want to see these guys fail. So would there be even a way to see them fail completely? That's too far. Now I'd suspect a negative. Number is an indication of going too far in any one direction. That could be right. That could be right. That could be right. But then these aren't right. That could be right. I think we got it. Maybe it's an offensive question, but ... How come we have to solve these puzzles? Are you for real? Ouch, sorry. How long have you been here? About 1 week? Terry, you're an idiot. Are you aware of that? I just don't understand. If you read the great book, you would understand. I did read it. Ugh. We solve puzzles to please the underworld god. Is that too complicated? No. Is that too weird for you? No. Do you need a more fancy, detailed explanation because your little brain can't grasp this one simple concept? No. Well, good. So, my instinct would definitely be to think that the underworld god is actually some kind of artificial intelligence program trying to get solutions to puzzles it can't figure out itself. Alright, we've got to get the numbers very, very low. If I put these to blue, I can't do anything with them, so this also kind of eliminates using the orange. And everything gets the numbers higher otherwise. So we could do a +2 here and make these blue. And then 1 here and 1 here. Makes them blue, but doesn't fill in the gap correctly. It'd have to be something closer to this. And then that could get to 4, but I only have 1 that would do that. Which would be more likely you'd want something like this. But that's not going to work either. Maybe you could do something like this. But that's not going to help either. Could maybe do something like this and then override those to be blue. Yeah, but it's not gonna work. This +3 needs to target something, or to target absolutely nothing. Could do that, but I would suspect might want to do that. No, that's not right. It is weird, I would say, to have a storyline show you the bad guys and their momentum and movement. Particularly this early in what it seems like the game is going to be. Perhaps I am being too picky here and should not start exclusively in this corner. Let's see. 4, 4, plus 2. 2, 2, get you the 4. This can't get to that, and would mess up that, and would mess up that. So the question really is going to come down to this one. And if I did this, I'm too high with a 4, so it could be a 3 at that point. But then I would need a 1 or something else here. Two plus 4 doesn't work. 2 plus anything really doesn't work. If 2 were pushed together in the corners on this, 2 plus 4 plus 2 would get that to 7, but it would have to be a blue 7. And so it can't really be in the corners like that, can it? There is probably something about the fact that this is 3-5 and 3-5 and 4-4-4 in this direction, and then a 6-7, a 6-6 in this direction. All that does indicate that the odd man out to like this piece and this piece. Everything else feels like it could be balanced. Not that it needs to be balanced. We have 2 2s, 2 3s, and 2 4s. So 2 2s feel like they need to be changed, and 3 4s feels like something there needs to be eliminated. Three, 4, 3, 4, 1. Wow. I think I got it. So the solution, if this is the only solution, seemed to be to mostly realize you're actually not going to use any of these pieces and just doing a much more basic puzzle. But how about, Terry, you're the worst apprentice I've ever had. Great book, chapter 5, section 3. Ask offensive questions and you shall be struck down. Oh, that's exactly what it says? Yeah. Or, oh, something along these lines. It serves to protect us from stupidity. Okay, I got it. Yeah, you got it. Yep, these puzzles at this point feel too complicated. There's just a lot of elements going on here. We have 3 2s, 2 blanks. What do we have 3 of in the puzzle? We have 2 7s. we can't really change any of the modifiers. So either we don't turn anything blue, which would only work for about those 3 sections. Then we've got to turn a lot of things blue for the rest of the sections. We can't change the modifiers either. When I put this 2 here, it becomes +2 because of this +2 to equal 4. This +2 does not add to this, change the color to make it +6 or 6. Which kind of means that it has to be there. And it kind of means that can't be here. Which kind of means that needs to be there. And that needs to be there. And then that can block that. And I missed one. We needed a 4 here, not a 6. Okay. Which would make that a 3. Okay, we're 1 off. This does work. Four here. Is there any possibility we could get this filled in? Or that filled in? No, it's pretty much set in stone. Is there any possibility that if we moved this, we would be closer to the solution? No, I don't think so. So here's the problem. I'm either going to stubbornly stick with what I think is the solution, or I am going to just have to make some major changes. Because this isn't looking like a solution where I can just somehow magically rearrange 2 pieces. Let's just start again. This one, and this one were the only ones that can be answered without changing anything. And all of them would be changed fairly largely if I did make them blue. There's no way to get to a 7. There's a way to get to a 6. Interesting. You can just click on the door. It will beep. So that introduces a possibility of there being some other trick to this. If I made that blue, I could get that and that. I'm still 1 off. I'll make that blue. I can get that and I'm still 1 off. Although, am I? Yes. 2, 4. If we changed nothing, could we get this to a 5? No. Change this. Put a blank there. We can get to that. Then that could get to that. That still doesn't solve the problem though. Four, 2. Wait a minute, that's a 6. So that might work. Nope. Still getting it wrong. It's gotta be a case where we can find making something blue makes more sense. Possibly this. Yeah, if we did that, then this one points. Then that is needed to maintain the 6 here and the 6 here. Just maybe puts a blank there. Okay. Five, 3. Have we got it? Yes, we have. Oh, this is getting just bigger and bigger. Although, I don't know if we aren't really hitting that same problem where the puzzles are just getting more convoluted. They're taking more steps to solve in the same way that if you tie more knots into a knot, more loops into a knot, it'll take more steps to solve. It doesn't inherently make untying a knot any more complicated, particularly if you're just braiding effectively a string in repeated patterns that aren't changing any way, where complication would be adding more elements or more tricks or learning rules to solve these easier. And even at that, if this game was getting more complicated, I'm not sure I'd like it either way, convoluted or complicated. It's all getting to be a little too much, particularly seeing how the achievements seem to be going. Unless there's just 5 to 6 achievements you unlock for doing other things than going through another 10 puzzles. Depending on what games you played on Steam, if you played something like Hexels, where there's 200 plus puzzles, you may not want to play another game in your life with another 200 puzzles. So I both may end up having to sing the praises of this game for having a very large amount of puzzles, but also fully admit that from my own personal desire, it was a little too much. Listen, Terry, what could help here is if, just like in the original version of Rethink, we started doing some very different style of gameplay and had a secondary game mechanic to work with this, or perhaps even the same concepts being introduced in a different way that looked completely different. Anyways, the dialogue goes, "Listen, Terry, in the next room we'll be in the presence of the underworld god." Really? Yes, really. What did I tell you about stupid questions? Oh, sorry. You'll be sorry when we enter the next room. You wronged more times than I can count. Oh. But listen, just be respectful and don't ask. No, don't even say anything. Okay. Will you stop it? Sorry. So this feels like quite the challenge. Biggest number we'd have here would be 10, and things are gonna have to be blue before they even start, which means one of these is not going to be used. Now I tend for it to probably be a case where you don't want the bottom row to be used at all. We might find a solution kind of quickly though too if we... Okay, that does that. It makes that 8. We want it to be 9. That makes it 10. We wanted it to be 9. That makes it 8. But then we have these walls pushing backwards on this also. The next biggest thing would be a 6. That brings it up to 8. There's just no way you're going to get that to 8 any other way. Which makes me suspect that is not what we're going for. Nine. Put that, and then it adds here, 2 and here, bumping it up to 11. Which means that doesn't work either. First thing we gotta do is figure out how to do any of these numbers. Like, what in the world do we do to make a 2 be a 5? Seven. 6, 11, 'There isn't a single number here below 5. So 4. We've got a 6 here. So that's the only thing that could potentially not be part of the whole deal. The 4 would have to be part of the whole deal. Or we'd have to do something like that. But we'd still need it to be blue. We just don't have anything at all. So what is the lesson here? We know we can't get to 10. Just not realistically a way to point just everything down and spend all of your extra points here to get things up to 10. Although it does actually seem like you can do it with 4 pieces, but then you just don't have enough, nothing here to get the number higher than 1. Okay. So clearly this plays a big role. This acts as a factor If we have something here making it blue, that alone gets that to 8. So then you really only would need that. Then that gets that to 10. This one is modifying this one. Is there a similar situation here we can do with that? That gets that to 7. And that gets that to 10. That gets that to 8. Can we now push this up to 8? Yes. But it doesn't change the problem here. We're supposed to use all of these pieces, and we're doing actually a very efficient job of using all the pieces, and it's still not good enough. Nothing gets this 3 to be big enough. We can move maybe this, and move maybe this. It's not big enough though. That's still not big enough. Gets that to 8. Still gets that to 8. That gets that to 8. So we just have everything except for the fact that the blue is in the way. And this one piece is wrong by 1. So we should be somehow making this blue. I have no idea how that could possibly happen. Either that or I need a 4. Which 4 could get us that way. Then that could get me to 8. Then we're 1 off there. So if we could we can move things around a little bit. Maybe this would work. Probably not. Again, it's early in the day for me playing these games, and my brain already feels like it's turned to mush, and it already feels like these episodes are just getting longer and longer. Well, let's see what we could reach with this. that, then maybe you get the numbers really, really big for those instances. I have a 5, I want this to be a 7. So if I were just to add that, I would make it a 7. Almost certainly, if you're going to pull this off, you need this. Something like that. We want that to be a 7. Which we've overshot now. If it was here, we would have to get the numbers very high. It seems almost certain that the trick is to be in the corners here and get some extra numbers, extra points at that level. This combined though would give you 10. That is too much extra points. Yeah, all my instincts definitely are pushing it towards the idea of having fairly large numbers and having that in that spot. And probably that in that spot. Possibly that in that spot. And we may just be ignoring a significant number of these other pieces. How can we get this to a 9? Would be the next big question. That only gets to a 6, starting with 3. It only gets to a 7, starting with that. If this was blue, you could do that. It's too much. Or five. 8. 9. 7. And rather infuriatingly, we are just constantly still running into these same problems. There's no way to solve for 6. Which maybe indicates not put that piece behind the character. This, and this might be the real move. 6 here, 8 here, and then a +2 +3 here. That get you to 5 or 7. That gets you to 6. But then that's 8 or 7. I mean, that would be wrong. That alone gets you to 6. And then this needs to be 8. 7. 7. What would fill this spot? Basically nothing. You need, if this is going to be 6, you would need a 1 here. But then that's not even good enough. So it can't be this pattern. Not really. It could be maybe this pattern. Okay. But what would bump this up higher? Needs to be 8. And if we start doing something like that, then the number gets to 8, I guess, that way. So 6, 6, 8. And then no way possible to solve this. And it's kind of obvious that there's just not. You can click on the door that's going to open, I guess, and figure out which one's going to open. But there's no way to fail here. You could ask for a hint, certainly. And I think at some point I am going to end up just giving up and having to ask for a hint. This definitely feels a little brute forcey in what we're doing here. It's just not a easy solution. It's kind of slow for the tiles to move back to where they started also. Okay, 3 plus that plus blue makes that 10. And then that and that only gets you to 6. And that gets you to 8. And then that only gets you to 3. That gets you to 8. Which means I can get you to 8. That does just get you to that and that. So now we're at 8. This wouldn't change anything, but this also wouldn't change anything. So we need basically the 6. The 6 has to be in play. We can avoid the 5, all we want there. This 3 to be a lot higher. I don't know how we accomplish that. thought would be certainly that we would point this down here and do that. That's way too big. It's got to be a situation where it's feeding into itself, pushing one number really high. Even 2 in this pattern is way too high. Yeah, it definitely doesn't feel like there's a core concept here that I've missed or not figured out. It does just feel like this is the intentional maneuver. +2 +4. Would there be any way to get to an 8 here from that? I guess. That's the 4. +1. Numbers are just getting way too high. I just don't think we can reach it. It does kind of feel like if we just did this middle section, that might make things easier. Five, 5, 4, 8. But honestly, it's probably closer to something like this as the pattern. And what do you do about the 5? I feel like we haven't really given this a decent chance so far. Or maybe the solution is to just solve for these pieces and then slowly move it over to this side and fill in the larger numbers and gaps later. Or kind of seems like you're kind of painted in a corner to get the bigger numbers. Maybe something like this. To get to something like that. And then maybe you've got and then nothing more you do over here. Four plus 1 would just get us 5, plus 2 would get us the 6 we need. But nothing's getting this to a 7. Alright, we've hit the hour point, I think, at this level. We should start to consider looking for a hint. Let's see what this says. Click again to reveal partial solution, 4 free solutions remaining. And in the menu we could have unlimited free solutions if we need it. Okay, partial solution then. We now know that this, which is a +2, gets put here to be a +4, to add with this +1 to be a +5. +5 pretty much indicates that this should be a +4 to get to a 9, and then something is going to go here, then something, one of these two numbers is going to go here, which means this 6 here is probably getting something like that. Means this and this is possibly happening here, or this and this is possibly happening here. Well, this is a 6, it needs to be a 7. So it's either going to get a +1 here, or it's going to get a +1 here. Meanwhile, the biggest thing here is a 4. It needs a +3 somehow. That could be +2 to turn into a +3 in that direction. And this is a 9, so it needs nothing. Which means this has got to be a 2 instead. Yeah, I have no idea how this is supposed to work, because every single piece that wasn't part of the partial solution here points to this that is, I think, part of the partial solution. Unless we put the wrong thing there, which maybe we did. Yep. Either we do something like this and put that here, or we do something like this. Probably we do this, because that's the only thing that wouldn't interfere and interact with this. Because if we did that one, it would overshoot it and hit 10. So our biggest number here is 6, which then indicates if we put a blue, that would overshoot it to 8. Or undershoot it. This needs to be a 7, which can be done a couple different ways, but I have no idea how we're going to get this to a 7. Maybe we don't get it to a 7. Maybe the trick is this needs to be a 9. So we do that. Now then that would be a 10 again. Unless that doesn't belong there. And we do that. And then that gets to a 9. And then this pushes that direction. This is a 7. Still doesn't really work. This should be a +1 to that. And in this direction, it is a +1, turning it to a 5, which is still not high enough. Or it becomes a blue +2 because this is pointing at it. Which that doesn't work. That could be a 7, I guess. And that could be a 3, turned into a 4. But still too far away, though. And yeah, I feel like now we're deep enough into the game where I just kind of have lost the ambition to bother to be 100% pure in how I solved all of these solutions. I think I am definitely willing to just ask for a hint and move on. Like, this isn't very far away from what I was doing before. So, should I be particularly surprised that the solution seems to be similar to what I expected it to be? Not really. There really shouldn't be any surprise there. I think I've got everything here. Yeah. And really, I just got lucky there. But yeah, far too often now I'm having frustrating points in this game. We still don't really know what this is about. We still don't know what the whole leading tale is about on any of this. And we just got another achievement. Your greatness, we have arrived. Seems like we're getting achievements faster too. How is your apprentice's training progressing? Oh, honestly, Your Highness, slow. He's the worst. Those serving the underworld god shall be treated equally in all regards. Oh, of course. Chapter 3, Section 12. Chapter 5, actually. Oh, I'm so sorry. Chapter 5, Section 12. Section 7. For real? I'm more sorry than oh. I'm like really sorry. Whatever. It's fine. Just keep developing your gifts and help guide the sinful purple heads towards the light. Yes, your greatness. Now go to Section F, room 94. That's where you'll find purple heads that need guidance. Yes, your highness. It shall be done. So what are the purple heads? Present time 14 rooms apart. So maybe these are the purple heads. And it does seem like maybe they're having us do the puzzles to develop maybe other abilities and skills. Which, yeah, if people did have some ability that they could develop magical abilities like reading people's minds, you might try and create some kind of scientific rat in a maze stimulus type experience to test how those abilities work, or test how well those abilities improve, or try to make the abilities improve. So the story goes, and will end after the story for this one. According to the message, one of us is an intruder, probably meaning that one of us has been sitting here by our hosts. Or maybe they just said that to mess with our heads. Casey, you're still calling them people after you saw them. Seemed like people to me. They don't sound or move like people. Here's what we'll do. I want everybody to think about it and point out the person they have suspicions about. Who do you think it is? I want to hear you first. Does anybody want to know who Casey's candidate for intruder is? Seth, keep that information for yourself for now. I want everybody to think for themselves. Yeah. And stop reading our minds. We gained an additional free solution, which is good because we probably are going to need it as we go forward. And I can see that they're introducing yet another color, which will complicate things, I'm sure. But yeah, another episode down. I would be a little upset if it turns out we're 6 more episodes in after this, or 5 more episodes in after this. I think it's probably best that the story just goes forward. The story doesn't feel like it's going to be that too crazy. The resolution may be a little crazy, but at this point I'm more interested in seeing the resolution of the story than I am just solving the puzzles. There's definitely a distinctive lack of hook in these puzzles, and that can be a problem in any puzzle game. If you don't like Sudoku puzzles, you're not going to do 100 Sudoku puzzles in a Sudoku video game. If you don't like hex cells, you're not going to do 200 levels of hex cells in a hex cells game. So it is impertinent and very important, important's the right word, to try and hook your audience early on and try and not lose them throughout the whole process. That is one thing we can say that is pretty decent about Rethink, in the fact that there only are about 40 puzzles. There just aren't enough that I would have gotten that bored with the laser light puzzles in Rethink. And certainly when you talk about like Portal, the Portal 1 in particular is a fairly short game, so you really don't have a lot of time to get frustrated with the Portal puzzles in that. The Witness, on the other hand, has a very large amount of puzzles, but then gives you some breaks in that you can get to the end game by not solving all the puzzles. You can basically skip out on 3 of about 12 sections in The Witness and still get to the end game. And once you get to the end game, there is a point where there's a bunch more puzzles that have been revealed. So honestly, you could do roughly 30-40% of the entire game and still get to the end game and feel a sense of satisfaction. Where puzzle chambers, there's no way to skip a puzzle, there's no way to do something else while you're thinking or have any kind of like falling action. In a puzzle game, falling action would be potentially solving a different kind of puzzle or doing something that is perhaps more timing based, even if it was something as simple as just mashing a button for points. That something that felt a little bit more actiony in a puzzle game for a change of pace would be nice. Anyways, we've gone really long. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.